So Katherine Lawrence, you are the author of a novel in verse for young adults entitled Stay, which follows 11-year-old Millie as she struggles with her parents' divorce. Now, I read that you workshopped first draft of this book with elementary school students in Saskatoon, and I'm wondering how this experience and the feedback you got from the children helped you understand Millie's thoughts and feelings in this really difficult time in a child's life.
That's a good question, Jade. It was absolutely essential in the development of the whole piece. I had written a draft that changed fundamentally after I workshopped it. First I tried it out with some grade 4 kids, and at that age and stage they love everything. And then I tried it out with a grade 7 class, and they are critics at that stage of the game. So first they were a little shy with me, they liked it, and I could sense some hesitation. So then I said to them that it was okay to really, give me some concrete feedback, and then they went for it. And one of the kids suggested that there wasn't enough technology. Why didn't Millie have a cell phone? Why didn't she have a laptop? I thought, okay, good point. And then somebody else said, she didn't really believe the fact that Millie and her sister got along so well. And then somebody else said, yeah, the whole family seems to be a little too happy. And I thought, what's going on here? So then I just explored a little more, and one of the kids mentioned that she sees her sister every other week because she goes back and forth between her parents' homes. And so I said, how many of you in this classroom, this is a classroom of maybe 25 kids, how many of you move back and forth between your mom and dad's homes? And just about half the kids raised their hand.
Wow.
So then we started to talk about the reality of living between two homes. And I left, went and was, I just completely changed the manuscript once I got home. I rewrote the whole thing and drew from my own experience then.
So why were you surprised that they wanted it darker, that they wanted to deal with these deeper topics?
Well, I think at that age they're emotionally mature enough to know that happy families are the stuff of Disney, and with about half the kids experiencing life in the framework of divorce, they absolutely do not live the so-called Disney framework. And in fact, when the book came out, a friend of mine gave a copy to her granddaughter, who was in grade 6 at the time, and her name is Olive, this little girl. And so she read this book along with a number of her friends, and then Olive's grandmother told me later that the feedback she got was that Olive hadn't realized that two of her girlfriends' parents were going through divorce, and Olive hadn't realized what kind of emotional complexity they were undergoing. So she now felt she was equipped with actually language to talk to her friends with.
So of course, children come with these lessons after the fact, now that you have gone through this workshop talking to the elementary school students. But why was it important for you to get this outside inspiration rather than just working from imagination?
Because up to that point I had written poetry for adults, and now I was writing a novel in verse, definitely for a young adult audience. And I just really needed to connect with those kids. I just really needed to plug into their energy, check in to see what their lives were like. And also when I was with those kids, I realized that I was just treating my own material with too much. I was being too gentle. I was sort of taking care of them emotionally, and they don't want that. They want the real goods. I was really impressed with these kids.
Yeah, and I ask about the outside inspiration and why you felt that was necessary, because I also read that your parents divorced when you were around the same age as Millie. So along with the inspiration, sort of the permission that you got from the children you workshop with to explore these deeper topics, how did your experience being a child of divorce manifest or inform the creation of Stay?
Well, the truth is that my experience with divorce as a kid colors absolutely everything that I write. I'm very interested in families, families that work, families that don't work and try again.
Mhm.
And when I first started writing Stay, I was actually interested in the story of the naming of the dog. Like I thought it was going to be a story for a much younger audience.
Mhm.
So then it was like the kids gave me permission to just go back and revisit just some of the complexity that I felt as a kid. So it's not autobiographical, but I would say that it's emotionally true.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Just backing up slightly, you said something about families that work, don't work, and try again.
Sure.
Does that come from personal experience?
Well, it comes from my experience raising children and being in a marriage of 37 years. Some some years are better than other years. I mean, you go back and you keep trying. I mean, nothing's perfect, and happiness is hard won.
Definitely. Katherine, would you be able to read a passage from Stay that you think really encapsulates the emotional turmoil that Millie goes through with her parents' divorce?
I will. So this is a piece called New Math, and it's written as a prose poem, and it goes like this. 4 empty chairs at the kitchen table minus 1 dad equals an empty place I can't subtract from the meals we ate together. Dad's clown around jokes, holding a banana to his ear like a telephone, his direct line to those monkeys in Ottawa, or serving our Friday night specialty, chicken a la daddy, deep fried and golden, Mum's pink apron tied around his middle, white chef's hat from the dollar store perched on his head, Tara, Mum, and me pretending we're part of a TV cooking show called One Dish Dad, his studio audience laughing for real. It's my job to set the table every night for dinner, but I hate the new math in our house. 3 plates, 3 glasses, 3 forks, 3 spoons, knife, knife, knife.
Fantastic. That is one of my favorites from the book as well.
Oh, good.
But why that one?
Well, that's a poem that I really love reading to school audiences, because the teachers are always asking the kids to respond to the poems, and this poem always gets a reaction, and either the teacher is asking at the end, why did Ms. Lauren say, knife, knife, knife at the end, or one of the kids shoots up a hand and says, why do you repeat knife? And that's the obvious question. So then away we go. So then we can talk about metaphor, we can talk about pain, we can talk about the importance of rhythm and beat in language, that the monosyllabic knife, knife, knife. And we can talk about metaphor. And they get it. They just get it in spades. Yeah.
So now that we've talked about how the children have influenced Stay and how your own history has somewhat informed it, looking back on the process, how has writing the book changed your perspective on how divorce affects children?
Well, your question is really timely because I've just finished writing a new manuscript called Black Umbrella, and it's a collection of poems for adults. But my editor really pushed me hard to really explore the emotional complexity of divorce, and I was somewhat resistant because I felt like I had done that a fair amount and had done a fair amount in that book, and she is of the opinion that we're only beginning to explore the narrative around divorce from the perspective of kids. So I went for it.
So it's interesting how you're exploring this topic from the perspective of children and from the perspective of adults. So now that Stay has been out since 2017 and you're working on this new one, what do you hope children and adults alike take away from these narratives about divorce?
Another good question. You know, Jade, what I hope is that these books give readers the permission to talk about it, because one of the great dangers when you go through a divorce as a child or as the parent is the risk of being silenced by the pain and even in this day and age by some of the shame attached to it. So it's another layer of emotional violation to be quiet.
Right.
So I just hope this work just sparks conversation.
Well, thank you very much for opening up this dialogue, and thank you very much for meeting with me for this interview.
My pleasure.